Are we ready?
Yes, we are ready.
Okay.
We're so leaving this in, by the way, because
Yes,
it's so ridiculous.
totally.
Anyway, hi.
Hello.
Hi.
What's the fucking name of our podcast again?
This is Romance on the Rocks.
Romance on the Rocks, that's it. Jesus
A drinky
Christ.
book club
I'm not even drunk yet.
where we talk booze and romance novels, or, in this case, it's happy hour.
It's happy hour.
Where
Cheers,
yes,
bitches.
Cheers, bitches. Where we don't actually talk about a specific book or drink.
Nope.
We have random various topics that relate to either drinking, romance novels, sex, whatever it is that comes up when we read books.
Yes.
And we'll just talk about it while we drink. Our current favorite drinks or whatever the hell we decided, like today. We should probably introduce ourselves. Let's go back. Before we get into it.
It's all good. No, it's fine. I feel like we still have the opportunity to introduce ourselves. Now that you know what this episode is about.
Let's introduce ourselves.
Introduce ourselves. I'm Claire Collins.
I'm Laurel.
And I'm Christina Yet, or as everyone calls me, Stina. And as we go into happy hour, this is actually a get to know us episode.
Yay.
So we're going to talk about who we are, the type of people we are as drinkers and readers, etc. It's probably going to go off the rails because we are, in fact, drinking.
And we go on tangents anyway.
And we're nuts.
Yes, which is a given.
We're just an unhinged group of humans just out here reading books and, drinking booze.
I
right?
mean, if our intro was anything to go by.
It's 2024, ladies. It's the end of 2024. Bottoms up, bitches. Like
Cheers.
There you go.
Yes.
Fuck everything.
End of 2024. Even though this is releasing in 2025, we have lives outside of this.
Believe it or not.
So we're recording extra early just in case.
Yes.
I am drinking the Herradura Ultra Añejo Tequila.
I'm drinking Foursquare single blended rum from 2009.
And I'm drinking the High and Wicked Kentucky Straight Rye Whiskey. Special release, special bottling, hand-selected bottles.
The websites might not have the exact year and or special release just because all this info is pulled from their web pages, and in most cases, they update things every year as they have new releases. And there's a lot of booze at our house, so we don't drink it all by the time we do this.
And fun fact, distribution between state to state from distillers and things like that can be different. So what we can get in our home state may be different than what you're able to get, but we would love to be able to share this with you.
So we share the closest facsimile.
Yep.
So normally we have the same drink for our book talks and we discuss, but we just picked our favorites and that's what this episode's about. So my favorite's rum.
Yes, she loves a good rum, and I enjoy a good rum, especially the darker ones that Laurel likes, because they're very reminiscent of the bourbons, the good bourbons, good whiskeys. They're good booze. They're good rums, and I love this because our favorite bartender friends would occasionally trick my guy, the sound engineer, Doug, with really good rums, and he would assume it was a bourbon, which is a good time.
Always.
And, of course, I'm the tequila person, so of course I'm drinking tequila.
So Laurel's drinking is a nice dark aged rum. That is not your typical Bacardi Black. This is
No.
very different than Bacardi Black, my friends.
So it's not Bacardi, thank God.
No.
We will note, most of the booze that we have in the house isn't going to be what you usually find in club bars. Like, not the Bacardis, not the Cuervos or Patrons or Don Julio, or...
We try to find fun and quirky and different.
Yeah.
And good.
And good mostly.
Like, what the whiskeys that you usually find in bars. It's not going to be the Makers.
It's not going to be Makers. It's not going to be Seagram 7. It's not going to be...
A lot of the time we just have it on the rocks. Or neat. So it has to be something that you can actually drink.
Yes, and it's not stuff that we would normally mix.
And there's a time and a place for stuff like Makers, and that is
nothing against these, because again,
bourbon and Coke.
If
that's your scene.
Right. Having said that, bartender friends.
Nothing against this Foursquare. I would mix this. This is not one I would normally just drink.
Straight.
Yeah. Now that I've had it, I'm thinking For me, it's more of a mixer.
Yeah.
It's not. I guess when I think of my favorites, just like drink neat. We've had a few good ones lately, but my go-to is like Bumbu or Pirate or just something
Yeah.
unspiced, but has that sweetness. Syrupy.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what we like. So you'll notice as we do more and more of these, a lot of the booze and a lot of the drinks that we have they follow a general theme.
Yes.
They're a little bit definitely a little bit more on the higher end of the scale.
Yes.
In some cases.
Because again, these are drinking liquors. These are a liquor that you're not necessarily going to want to mix in with a drink, right? Like, I'm not going to take $100 bottle of bourbon and mix it into my bourbon and Coke, right? Like,
exactly.
I'm going to use my regular wild turkey off the shelf stuff that I can get
Absolutely.
for $30.
Although occasionally we do use like an extra añejo that we find that's not
Sometimes
exactly the
we do.
cheapest thing to mix with.
Yes.
And it just kind of depends. But for the most part, these are things we can drink straight with ice, some lime, something. Anyway, but this is the type of drinker we are. We do occasionally have the not the swill, but it's not well. It's more of the drinky stuff.
Yeah,
Although
you love some beautiful mixed drinks. I do
Oh.
I like my dark malty beer and I like red wine.
I cannot drink beer. Beer is, again, just an opinion, so don't come at me. I hate beer. It tastes like warm piss. And no,
I
I've not
love
tasted
beer.
piss.
And not everybody is a beer drinker.
No, I despise beer.
I don't like hoppy beer. I like malty beer.
And my guy loves to make a game of finding the weirdest, most hoppy, or whatever tasting beer and getting me to try it. And seeing my reaction. He takes great joy in watching me spit out weird flavored beers.
Yeah.
And I'm not that much of a wine drinker either. I am the resident hard liquor, let's get drunk kind of person. And we'll kill a bottle of tequila, no problem.
Fun story, Stina turned me into a bougie drunk.
Not intentionally. She told me she had never had tequila before and wasn't a big...
Okay, I had had tequila before.
She
I
wasn't
never
a
drank
fan.
it straight.
Yeah, she wasn't a fan of
Unfortunately,
tequila.
I have drunk it straight.
She
But it
was-
was out of like a
It was
gallon
like...
plastic bottle in
Yes.
college.
And then...
Look, it was Patron, it was college, that's what you did in college when I was in there at the time a few years ago.
Yes, and I promptly... We were at dinner when this happened, and I promptly made her come home with me and took out all of the good tequila, which wasn't as much as we have now.
It was Clase Azul that she made me try, and I was like, what the fuck is this? Because it like didn't actually taste like
What you were used
nasty
to.
ass, like
Yes.
rat gut,
And then,
tequila that you're shooting off of somebody in a seedy bar in college.
and it wasn't just the Clase Azul. It was the Fortaleza, which is one of my favorite tequilas. We'll feature it at some point, but that's hard to find. It is allocated a lot of the bourbon, not a lot, a good chunk of the bourbons and maybe the tequilas that we are going to be drinking, as time goes on, they are allocated because of the growing popularity of tequilas and the continuing annoying popularity of bourbons.
Yes.
We do our best to get stuff that's readily available to drink, so no one has to go, if they want to drink with us, to go on the secondary market to get things.
But you could find your own that you like.
Yes.
And have a tequila while we're having one.
Yeah, and we
or
try
have
to
a good
find,
rum that you like.
Yeah, and we try to find something that we like that is maybe not necessarily, we try to focus on smaller distillers, right? To just kind of give them an opportunity and give them exposure as well.
Yes.
So anyway, so Stina, as a little bit of a segue, is our tequila drinker.
Oh, yes.
Big time.
Oh, I'm the tequila fiend.
And I love tequila. Don't
Yes.
get me wrong, but Stina has like a whole other level of tequila.
I like it
love.
occasionally, but after that college tequila incident, I'm weary and picky.
I felt that way about Blue Moon, of all things, for the longest time.
That one thing that you got sick
Yep.
from that it
Yep.
takes you a
And
while
you're
to
just
enjoy
like, I
again.
smell it now, and
See,
I have a
and
bad
that
time.
was the thing. The difference in our college experiences also influenced the drinking. I did not have that experience with drinking in college, mostly because it was very well known that I despised beer and cheap alcohol, cheap liquor. I hated the Smirnoffs. I hated all of that crap. And all of the frat parties and, sorority parties that I was at, they all knew it became well known. So they always had like, I don't drink vodka. It doesn't taste like anything. It's not a drink I like. But when you're at a frat or, at a party, if they're usually going to have vodka because on a whole, even the higher end vodkas are cheaper than the higher end anything else.
I think the only people who actually drink vodka straight are Russians.
And there's nothing wrong with that, but so they would always want me to drink with them, so they would always make a point of having a Belvedere, Kettle, the Goose.
Yes.
Because that was what I would drink with them. So I didn't get sloppy drunk on cheap liquor most of the time. I would drink along with people and whatever and get sloshed, but as a general rule, my grandfather told me how to drink good liquor when I was a 10-year-old, because he didn't know what to do with me. And this isn't just any liquor. This is like Johnny Walker Blue Label. This is like the really good aged scotch, the good bourbons. My grandmother made pomegranate liqueur that was a million times better than
that sounds wonderful.
The current pomegranate liqueurs that are available.
My grandpa would ask me, "Did you drink my Canadian Mist out of the freezer?" I'm like, "Nope, I'm not 21, but I'm not that hard up."
Right, so I grew up drinking the good stuff and having little bits of wine and beer as a kid, and I hated those things.
Having said that, tequila didn't used to be as in. Like my dad said, when he was younger, he drank tequila because no one else would drink it, and they wouldn't drink his liquor.
Right,
yes.
And he loved it, and he had a good taste for it too. But it just has become so popular.
Or it was, of all the things to do shots of, comparatively kind of the cheaper thing.
Yes. Yes.
And so that was how I got into it. So I didn't have that college experience with the drinking.
I did.
Well, I didn't. My parents didn't really drink when I was growing up, so there wasn't really liquor in the house at my house. So there wasn't. I didn't have the experience of sneaking booze out of mom and dad's.
I didn't.
And my friends were super straight laced too, right? I was the good kid.
I was goody.
I was the good kid. I was the goody goody. My friends were also pretty straight laced. So I did not drink until I was 21.
Okay, so oopsies.
Oh gosh.
The
second I went to college, I was having fun.
Oh yeah, and then I went to college when I was. I was in college when I was 21. But I actually went and got my bachelor's degree, I think started when I was 22 or something like that. And I went way off the rails at that point. But
see, I clearly was the bad kid because not only did I started getting a taste for alcohol as a child, we were drinking in high school.
But that doesn't make you a bad kid. That just means you had a very different exposure to alcohol.
A lot of kids did. We just were getting, I guess, for lack of a better term.
Oh, no, I was...
But I wasn't running in circles where that was a thing that we did.
True.
That's kind of what I'm implying, right?
Right, and there's nothing wrong with
it.
No. Because the trade-off is now I went to college and didn't go off the rails.
Yeah, yes. I think the problem is a lot of people that wait then go off in college when they have to be responsible for themselves.
Yeah, and so, oh God, do not get...
But as a college kid, when you get that amount of freedom and you don't have the boundaries of your parents being like, oh, come on, dumbass, right? Or anybody bail you out.
I remember freshman year, I went out and did something for the weekend, was around my friends, and then came back and found out, one of our good friends got so, blackout drunk that everyone was like, oh my God, he has alcohol poisoning.
Yeah.
And none of my friends knew how to deal with it, and I'm like, I've experienced this kind of shit before.
Yeah.
One... Okay. Two, I got so pissed at him. I was like, look, I don't have a problem with you getting blackout drunk. Go do you. But make sure you have someone around you who knows what the fuck to do in case that happens.
Yes.
I don't know about you, Christina, but I found that, I had a better tolerance in college. Now, on a Friday night, I'm so tired, and I have a nice glass of wine or two or some rum, and take a bath, and I'm like, oh, I feel like a wimp nowadays.
I have a different approach to drinking than I did when I was in college, and this is somewhat recently with some health problems that I've had, and just noticing that my tolerance is not as good as it used to be.
It's not as good as it used to be. I don't know when that happens, but...
Yes, and I'm also drinking, in fairness, very different liquor than I was before, so
stronger,
now it is...
obviously, On the Rocks or neat...
yeah, so I'm drinking a bourbon right now.
Instead of half sugar water or something.
And that's what people don't realize is the sugar is what gives you the hangover the next day and makes you feel horrible.
Yes.
That makes sense.
Yeah, so that's the kind of stuff that we don't want to deal with.
But I'm also drinking more for enjoyment, right?
Right.
Like,
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
pouring myself a couple fingers of bourbon.
I think you should
on a
always
Friday
drink for
night
enjoyment.
and like pouring myself, like pouring a bath and enjoying
Right.
something in the bathtub, right?
Yes.
Or go with your friends and talk about your books and have.
Yes.
Yes.
There is something to be said for like a really solid like glass of something nice and a hot bath on a Friday night.
I do not like baths.
Oh, I love a night.
I love a good
I have my
hot,
big
steamy bath.
freestanding tub.
Look,
Oh my god.
no matter how many times I've tried to get into a freaking bathtub, even the whole like soaking tubs and crap,
Oh, I have my soaking.
Oh,
tub.
yeah. Oh yeah,
my boobs are always out of the water.
fair. I don't
Unless
have
I like sink really deep into it and like
I have that problem. That just means your boobs are still kind of uppish.
yeah.
and it's just I can't do it. And like I don't like sweating into water.
I have my candles, and normally that's when I have to switch to the Kindle for my book
Yes.
and I have the backlit, and I lie there with my drink and my
Yeah.
candles, and I lock the door.
5 minutes, maybe 15 max,
Yes.
and I'm just like, get me out of this soup.
Yes. Oh, a good soaking tub.
Oh my god.
No,
You
thank
know, yeah.
you. Let me just drink on the sofa
Fair.
with snacks
Fair.
and my book.
I think I'm gonna ask my dude for a good like bath pillow for Christmas.
Oh, yeah. That's
one
where
of my
it's
stocking
at.
stuffers or something
That's where
like
it's
that.
at.
Yeah.
I just get really good alcohol, but like, we all drink
All the
different.
above.
Anyway,
So that leads us to, we all have preferences. I prefer a book. I really love a hard copy. But I've gotten lately so that some of our books are on Kindle Unlimited. They made me get a Kindle, and I do like it because I can read it at night and not disturb anyone. I have it backlit, and then I go back and forth between the hard copy and the book.
So I do love a good book. The problem with that for me, because I am the crazy demon speed reader that finishes books in a couple of hours,
You are.
yeah.
I can't take all those books with me on vacation. Like, Claire and I went to
you should
Mexico.
have seen my book bag to
Oh.
Vietnam and Cambodia this summer. It was like my carry-on was full of books.
Like,
And I
Claire,
left them in like random like Airbnbs and airports.
Yeah.
like, Claire has seen, we've gone on a couple of trips together, and she has just seen me demolish books. No problem.
It's a little bananas. I'm a fast reader, and Christina, like, makes me look like...
Yeah, me too. Yeah, she just
Like, I'm in
blows
remedial
past us on
English.
that.
Like,
Yes.
We went to the East Coast for a concert, and, you know, with all the flights and whatever, and I'm just, like,
You're
powering
reading
through the
Iron
books.
Flame on the plane.
Fourth Wing. It was
Oh,
Fourth
Fourth
Wing.
Wing.
Fourth Wing.
I still need to
started,
read that.
and I finished it,
Yes.
and we were still in the plane.
And she's like reacting to things on the plane, and then I read the book later and was like, "Oh, now I understand why you're having those reactions."
We will probably cover the Imperium
We will
series
eventually.
at some
We will
point.
do those, but anyway.
But,
But those
like-
are also pretty big books if you like take them on a plane with
Yeah.
you.
And again, like a great example, this is many years ago. This is the type of reader I am. My family was doing a holiday break trip somewhere. We went to Europe. And I was like, okay, I can only take and backtrack a little. The type of traveler my lovely, slightly insane father is pay as little as possible to maximize the thing. Which meant we were only allowed those, this is going to date me as a child of the 90s, those stupid rolling backpacks.
Yes.
That
I
was all we
remember
were
those.
allowed for a 2-week trip.
Oh my
Oh,
goodness.
I did not have that.
That's-
No, my family was like huge suitcase.
That's
Can
rough.
you carry it?
No,
Start
so...
lifting weights.
And this was before they charged obscenely for checked baggage.
Yes.
And we were still only allowed this stupid rolling backpack.
Yep.
And I couldn't pack books. And I can only watch so many movies on the plane repeatedly before I lose my ever-loving mind. So I was like, okay, let's read Lord of the Rings.
Oh yes.
It's a really thick series, and they sell the books as a single book, all
Yep.
3 in one.
Yep.
I was like, okay, this will take more time to read.
The whole trilogy?
Yes.
In one book?
In one
Ooh,
book.
that's
I have a copy of
good.
it.
I read the book 3 times before we landed.
Dang.
And this is where it gets crazy, guys, because I do an annual reading of the Lord of the Rings trilogy every year, and it takes me at least 2 weeks.
I didn't know that. Yeah, like I read it a few times and I love it. Now my dad was like one of those people who's read it like 25 times.
Yes.
I can read the entire Harry Potter series in a day.
Which is just bananas.
I know, like
Mostly because I made it halfway through the Harry Potter series and just like for whatever reason it stopped doing it for me, so I've never actually finished it.
Now what?
But also the fact
You
you didn't finish it in a
finish
day.
it?
I didn't finish it.
Oh my god!
I couldn't get through the fucking Goblet of no.
Goblet of
What was the fifth
Fire?
one? No, I couldn't get
Fifth?
the Goblet. What was the fifth one?
Prisoner of Azkaban. So, no, that's the third one.
No, that's the second one.
Order of the Phoenix.
What?
Yes, I never made it
So-
through
You
that
didn't
one.
finish the series?
I never
So,
Never.
I don't, that's not an, I get, Order of the Phoenix was a little bit weird.
Everybody tells me that Order of the Phoenix is the
You've
roughest
gotta
one to get through.
Yeah, get through it
I've
in the
tried
last
like
two.
3 times.
But I read,
anyway.
I'm the fast reader. I'm the reader that will get a book
She is.
series. Or if there's a new book in a series, depending on how long the series is, I will read the entire fucking series before I read the newest book.
I've got a very busy. I've got so many different activities every
Well,
day.
and-
Like, oh,
Again, so context of all of us with like day jobs. I have the least day job.
I have a very day job.
We both have very day jobs.
I'm kind of retired-ish. Let's leave it at that.
Yeah.
But even when working full time, I would still devour books like
She
this.
did,
Like it's
yeah.
not a
Yeah.
huge thing. It's
Yeah.
not, I mean, Claire remembers we went to Mexico, and for a great example of how I read, if anyone has read the Guild Hunter series by Nalani Singh, great book series. We'll probably cover it, or I'll talk about it in one of our other happy hours where we talk about, or one of us tells a story, tells the others about a book or a book series we love. And the core of it is a love story between the two main characters. It's like 16 books. Before we went to Mexico and I had to read the last book, I had already reread the entire series so that I could read the next book.
I got through 3 of them in Mexico.
I reread.
And
You
that was
reread a
impressive
lot.
because that's all we did all day long was sit in the pool with our Kindles and read. And I read 3 books in 5 days.
And I reread the series
And that
again.
was exceptionally fast for me.
And I reread the series again and reread a couple of the
See, you
books.
reread a
multiple times.
lot. Like, I only
Yeah.
have some series where I've really reread much. Like, and most of the time, they're what I consider really fluff books that I like.
Yes.
But-
Like, I reread a lot of Janet Ivanovich. I reread a lot of,
Yes.
like, my Bridgerton books.
Yes.
Like, just to relax.
Yeah, and I just read because I've always been a bookworm. I love books. Books are a big part of my life.
I think
And-
we all are, but
Yeah.
just in different ways.
Yes.
Yeah, and I'm more of, so I kind of go both ways. I like to have more of like my short, comfort, easy reads on my Kindle because I can take it with me, I can take it on the plane, and like I don't have to dedicate a lot of like brain space to reading when I'm on the plane. I can be like halfway focused on something.
Yeah.
Especially when you've got me reading next to them on the
Yeah,
plane
or
as I
like-
make comments.
Or like when you're reading a romance book next to your mom and there's something about
Oh.
kombucha dildos. And your mom keeps going like, what are you reading over there, honey? And you're like,
Oh no!
But
It's
anyway-
even worse when there's a stranger and you're reading a romance novel that's really like
It's
it's got the sexy time, but it's also like really like heart wrenching, and so you start getting emotional and like a little like for me, I am so if I read a romance novel and there's something that's like emotional, I can get weepy even if it's like not well edited, you know, just it's all smut, but there's a little bit of like a heartfelt bit. I get weepy.
Oh,
And then strangers will be like, "Are you okay? What are you reading?" I'm like, "Just stop."
It's even worse when your
Don't look
little
at me while reading the smut.
It's even worse when your little sister says to you the last time that you see them that you're like, she's like, hey, I'm thinking about getting a Kindle for myself. Can I play with yours? And it's all fucking smut.
You have a little sister?
books. I have a little sister.
I didn't know that.
Not littler, but
Ah.
younger. Yeah.
Ah.
Anyway.
I didn't know that.
It's
rest
just
of us
really
are only
weird.
kids.
It's just really
Yeah, we
weird
are.
when you hand your little sister, who is over 30, right? Like she's in my realm of 30, and yeah, it's all fairy smut.
Oh no! Well, here's what's hilarious. Okay, so this was back in college. I made a really good friend of mine, and we both discovered we loved books. But we also discovered that we both loved the smutty books, like
Oh,
the
yes.
ones that was published to PDF that you
Oh,
have to
yes.
pay like
Oh,
a couple
yes.
of bucks for.
Yes.
Ah.
And then we started sharing the smut with each other.
Uh-huh.
And it was just a really weird insight into each other.
Oh, see, I just started kind of smutty, but I know for a fact that my mom and my grandma shared romance novels. Like
Well,
when I was a kid, I know like because they kept
Dude,
track.
like she
man.
she officially like came out to me as bi, and I was like, okay, because at that point
You already read her books.
we had already shared
And
all
you're
of the
like,
books.
yes.
Well, and here's what's even more ridiculous. Both of us, for some reason, seemed to enjoy the gay stuff for a little bit. It was really weird. Like, there was a period of time where both of us, of all the
Yes.
published to PDF smut,
Yes.
the best written ones were the gay smut.
Oh, there's something to be said for,
I
you know,
wonder
two
why.
books doing it. I have no idea.
I
I don't think I've
I
read
have
any.
no idea why
I'm the
that does
first
it for
person
me.
to say,
Yeah.
I don't understand the girl on girl. Like, I don't see the appeal, and there's nothing wrong. Again, she's bi, so we had this discussion of explain the boob on boobs.
Yes.
But we agreed on the whole dick on dick thing was kind of hot.
I see. For me, I think that's mostly hot when there's a vagina between the two dicks. I don't know, but
Yeah.
But
I haven't read
a little
any.
bit-
So maybe
there's
if I
something
read
to the
some, I'll like it
spectrum
too.
of it. Yeah.
Well, I think too is because it's always the point that the two guys are fucking hot guys,
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
which I think is what made it better.
Two hot guys is always better than one hot guy. I guess.
It's like, and it's extra points if they're hot British guys.
Oh,
Just saying.
oh, there was one where it was like hot gay cowboys,
Yes.
and there
I'm
was
here
just
for
something
it.
about it.
I love me a good Brokeback Mountain smut.
Especially because, like,
I don't know anything about those. I'm gonna have to try them.
especially like the alpha cowboy, like the not alpha. Alpha male. The whole alpha male thing is crap. It's the dominant. There's a difference. Alpha versus dominant.
Fair.
The dominant cowboy is just
Well, so what we were gonna say was like, what are some of our favorite tropes? I think that's
sports.
I know.
It's just hilarious.
That's why the last one was.
Listeners, full disclosure, Christina gives less than a negative amount of fucks about the sports. So when she told me that sports
We're like, what do you mean sports? You don't do any sports.
was
You never
her
did any
favorite
sports. Like what?
trope, I was like, what the fuck?
Look, they're not wrong. However, especially because what's even worse, I don't understand a lick of hockey. I love the hockey romance. And then I finally started sending them the Instagram reels of hockey players who are stretching on the ice in their gear and their skates.
Look, they're just fucking the ice is what they're doing.
And that is part of why I love it.
And we were like, okay, well, we're gonna pick this book, and
She's
it's
like, I
not
read
a,
this.
and it's not a sports trope. And then
But-
she leads us to a sports book.
We picked, it was a fake, this month has been fake relationships.
It was fake
It
relationships.
happens a lot in sports.
Okay.
It was also completely fucking unhinged.
Yes, but I always I feel like of all the trashy or not trashy, that's the smut books. There's something about the sports romances because especially like look at modern.
I'm still unconvinced.
I think part of why is like all of the things with the athletes. It's always unless you get the occasional like wholesome, the Steph Currys, the Mahomes, the what other wholesome sports dude? I don't know. Those are the only two names I know. Versus the Tiger Woods stories or the ones where it's like womanizers and stuff. There's something about it I think that makes me happy. I don't know.
Well, at least they're in shape.
Yeah,
Fair.
you can climb them like a pole.
Yeah, that's fair. That's
But
fair.
again, I love the sports, but that's not the only trope I like.
What other tropes do you like?
There's something about the menage, the multi-partners that's just it's really hot. Those are the really like maybe they don't happen a lot in real life.
No, but I feel like that's kind of the fun of reading the romance books is
Yeah.
that like there's a certain amount of suspension
Well,
of
that's the best
disbelief.
part is like you're supposed to enjoy things that you wouldn't particularly want to do. Like I read Haunting Adeline and it was hot, but ooh, it was unhinged. Like, do I want that in real life? No.
So sports
No.
romance.
I
for
almost
me,
DNF'd it like 4 times.
Yeah.
The main three that I tend to go to are going to like the top three that are without fail ones I go to are going to be the multi-partner ones because those are just always fucking hilarious and really spicy. Because you can't not be spicy when you have all those dicks in the equation.
Fair.
The sports romances, obviously. And then I really like the ones where you've got a strong female character, but you've also got the dominant male. The BDSM, the more darker stuff, where the guy is a little bit more... There's something about it.
alpha male.
No, not the alpha male, because remember we again.
I don't like that exactly.
The whole stupid
Fair.
alpha male. That I'm the alpha male. If you say you're an alpha male, no one wants to fuck you.
No.
The dominant male, the dom, doesn't need to announce it.
Fair.
It's just that's part of who he is. And when he's partnered with a very strong female, something about how it is in the bedroom makes it.
There's a give and take to it.
Yes, and
that
it
you
makes
enjoy.
it that much better too, because the dominant male in the books, and in some cases in real life, in the bedroom, takes the dominant, the strong dominant female out of her headspace.
Yes, if it's a well-written
Right.
book, yes.
Yeah.
Which makes it that much better.
Yes.
Because we're all strong females. How many times do we get stuck in a weird headspace? And I don't know about you guys, but sometimes even with sex,
Only
you're
on days-
stuck in that headspace.
Only on
And
days that end in Y.
you can't get out of it. And so sex is good, but it doesn't always become mind-blowing because
Yes.
you're still in that weird
Yes.
headspace.
You can't stop thinking.
Yeah, and that's what I love. Those are the
Yes.
top three for me. Like,
Yes.
Well, see, I really love historical fiction, and I like history in general, nonfiction, and so I like period pieces. So I love Julie Quinn. I love
the Regency.
Regency. But I like pretty much any kind of historical fiction-ish romance. But like Rakes in Love, like Playboy type ones, that's one that I like because I see a lot of that in ones like, say, Bridgerton.
There is something to be said for the reformed Playboy.
Yes.
There's
They're
something
hot,
fun about
they're
that.
cocky. I love a cocky guy.
That's sports.
I can see that. But I also love mythology and things like that and fairy tales. So I like the mythology fairy tale retellings. Like I did Neon Gods and I love that. Those are some that I really like.
We will be covering those at some point because there is
Yeah.
this whole thing that I've put on our book list of naughty fairy tale stories.
Oh,
so you've
yeah.
got like the
Yes.
naughty
We
Alice
are so
in-
excited about a whole bunch of different
Right.
ones.
There's like naughty Peter Pan, Neverland. There's the naughty Alice in Wonderland stories. There's the what was that? There's
Or
like
Thorn and Roses.
there's the
Yeah.
naughty Sleeping
Yeah.
Beauty. So
Yeah.
like we're so gonna get
And
into
then
those.
there's fairy tales, and then there's mythology.
Yes.
And so there's a lot of Norse mythology lately, and then there's a lot of, and some of them are connected. They're not like just Norse mythology, but some of them are Greek and Roman mythology. Like Neon Gods is the first one in a whole bunch of series of different ones. That's Hades and Persephone.
I do have to say
I love
for
all
some
those.
reason all of the times I've read all the mythologies, my
Uh.
favorite romance versions of those are always Hades and Persephone.
Are they
Yes.
really? There's a whole ton of those. We
Yes.
can almost all like read a whole ton
But
of different
every
ones of
time
those.
I've read the smut with Hades and Persephone compared to all of the others,
I need to read some of the others though. Like
I
that series seems pretty good.
really just love Hades and Persephone.
Yes.
Compared to because I think also I've been obsessed with Greek mythology since I was a kid, and so that story was always the most interesting because there's something to be said about polar opposites.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
I like a lot of them.
I-
I read a Song of Achilles, and that's about, Patroclus and Achilles.
And Claire and Laurel can attest to this. Me and my guy are complete fucking opposites.
But you work.
Kinda, yeah.
The longer I know you, the more I realize why it works.
Yeah.
But there was a lot of time in the beginning when I didn't know you both really well that I was like, what?
That happens a lot with us.
You're really opposite in some ways, but you're also oddly
Similar
in other ways. But, you
Well,
wouldn't,
yes.
but
works.
people just seeing them wouldn't.
Yeah, somehow it works. But there's something to be said.
But it takes
about
a certain amount of getting close to both of you to understand why
Yeah,
it works.
to be fair, Laurel and I have been friends for quite some time, and funny story, Laurel did in fact go on a couple of dates with Douglas.
I did date her
This
man
is hilarious.
for a few times, yeah.
They went on a couple dates, and the day we figured it out and everyone realized it was the day of Laurel's wedding.
Which was even funnier.
So when you walk down the aisle and people say, "Oh, I think I might have dated the bride."
And then Douglas
and
decides
then
to
he's
tell...
adamant that he's not gonna tell.
No, Doug tells Laurel's friend, who tells him not to say a damn word
that's right.
to either one of us. He immediately tells me, and I start dying, laughing my ass off.
Because we're like good friends by this
Right,
point.
Yes.
And then she's gone off on her honeymoon, so I don't see her for a couple weeks. She comes back. I immediately tell her, and she dies laughing.
We die.
And then goes home and finds the journal from that time frame and shows me the next time we get together, and there is the description of their dates.
Yes. I like to keep track. I was trying to keep track of people.
And so it made us laugh so hard. Like, we were almost in tears, and no one else understood
No one else got it at the time, but
Like,
it's hilarious.
One of our friends, who was our coach,
yes,
got it and kind of understood, but no one really understood why we thought it was the funniest thing in the world. And then Claire and she really got to know him when we went to another friend's wedding on an all-inclusive.
A long time ago, yes.
Oh, yeah.
And she made a point to try to, like, talk to him and get to know him.
Because I knew Christina at the time, and I had a couple of conversations with Doug, but not, like, in any sort of depth, and so it was kind of one of those, like, I'm going to make it a point to get to know my friend's significant other.
Who is, like, they're, like, if you've read his About Me in our website, you'll kind of know he's a little bit of a weirdo. As we drink some more.
I need a little more.
About, like, different things.
Get more ice?
I think so. Unless, we got some.
Okay.
I left a little bit.
Throw some in there for me, would you?
And, like...
So anyway, I made it a point, and Look,
I
can smile and nod my way through anything.
Sometimes I'm like, oh man,
That's
like,
that's my superpower.
Doug and I are different in some ways and similar in other ways. I'm like, is she my partner or is she me, like, in our relationship?
Yes.
Like, it's kind of funny, like, in some ways my partner is like her, and sometimes, like, I'm more like her, and Doug is more like my partner.
What was funny is that...
And they get along fine.
Oh,
like,
they get along great.
We're like
but,
a really big, like, group.
We love Doug.
So
Yes.
what's really funny, though, is the day Claire came over and we had her try all my tequilas, she got a little tipsy. And my honey sent her home with all sorts of alien books.
Oh, God.
Somebody wrote a dissertation about, like, I don't know, I was drunk and I remember, like, distinctly being like, oh, this is a thing that is a passion of his and I want to get to know him better, so sure, I can slog my way through anything.
She didn't read any of it. She got
didn't
home
read
and was
any
like,
of it.
what the hell?
Like, got home and was like, what the
He
fuck?
also has some serious ideas about what we should read for this podcast, and sometimes we're like, oh.
Listen, guys,
We'll
I'm here for a weird time.
So if you get some real weird books, they're probably his suggestions.
Yes, and we'll let you know when we get to those episodes what those that he kind of suggested.
Yeah. We'll call it a
You might
Doug's
not want to
pick.
read it. You might just want to listen for
We'll call it
for
a Doug pick.
amusement's sake.
Yes.
Doug pick.
I will do the
Doug.
unhinged cryptid sex and tell you about it.
No, we'll do one of them. All of us will read it. I feel like we'll try.
Oh.
Because look, one of the options in our ratings guide is read while drunk.
Fair.
That's true.
And that is probably one
Had
of
to
those
be drunk to
tries.
read
Fair.
And again, I don't mind reading the shifter romances.
No, and I mean, like I
Well,
said, I'm
shifter
here
romances can be very popular. It's just some of the ones that he suggests are
Just out there.
out there for shifter romance.
Well, and then we've gotten through two of our favorite tropes. We haven't touched on Claire's.
We have not.
Yeah,
so,
that's
like
true.
I said, I mean, I'm here for a weird time, not a long time. Like, I can get through some pretty weird stuff, but by far, my favorite trope is enemies to lovers. There's something about, like...
Hate sex?
Yes. There's something about they hate each other so much that it, like, over-indexes into the sex.
And
There's a passion in hate
There's a
and in
passion
love,
in
I guess.
hate.
well,
There's a
isn't this
passion
the
in
thing?
hate.
There's a fine line in love between love and hate.
Yes.
And that's the thing I feel like as kids we maybe didn't really understand, because I know as I got older, the antithesis of love isn't hate. It's indifference. Because if you don't give a shit, you don't waste any energy.
Love and hate are more similar
than most people realize. And as you get older, you realize if you hate, you're actively addressing
Probably
passion.
why you love someone so much you end up hating them
Yes.
later.
I don't know why it does it for me.
You don't
but, like,
have indifference. You either
Yes.
you loved them and then you hate them or
Because
whatever.
indifference doesn't matter. You
Yes.
don't care.
I feel like there's a lot of passion in that, right?
Yes.
It's like you get to know a different side of two characters, and then you kind of like there's something to be said for them realizing that they are not so different after all, right? Or that they can overcome things somehow. So I mean that would be my favorite trope, but I'm kind of like the big high fantasy girl, I would say, of the group.
Yeah,
I said, I reread like The Lord of the Rings once a year or so. That has always been.
I
kind
love
of
fantasy too.
Oh, I do too. Like I'm
I
not.
think we all like.
We all love the fiction fantasy novels.
Yes.
I think we love all of them. Like we watch them on Book Talk. We do all the stuff, but like
Yes.
everybody has different ones. Like so far, I say go more into. I like vampires. So I've read some of the good ones.
So
yes.
Except for the
spicy
supposed
Twilight.
to be spicy
Okay.
Twilight.
So I feel like it's not
Still
like
mad about
it's,
that,
This is it's not smut, and I've encouraged Claire multiple times, and so I'm going to encourage Laura. One of my favorite recent, and I say recent, but these books were published several years ago. It's the All Souls trilogy by Deborah Harkness, because it is fiction with fantasy elements, with historical fiction elements. Really, so the main three creatures with quotations
Yeah.
in this is you've got the mortal, normal humans, the mortals.
Mhm. Yep.
Then you've got the witches.
Okay.
You've got the vampires.
Uh-huh.
And then you've got the demons. And we're not talking like supernatural or all the haunted shows demons. This is a different spelling of demons. They're like still kind of human, but they're like druids or some variation of
Yeah.
that. They're a quote unquote creature because they're not human, but they're not like horrible things from hell, whatever. But it's the All Souls trilogy. And it's a discovery of witches. It's on AMC. It's not.
Oh, that's supposed to be really good.
Oh yeah, the
I need
television
to read
series
that.
they did such a great job compared to the books.
Yes.
I hear
But-
it's great.
Oh, it's fantastic. Those are the books that I reread every year.
Lately, I've read like Phantasma. That's kind of a dark romance, and it has phantoms, and it has demons, and it has.
Because
And Nocticadia was really good, but that's not really. It's not really fantasy, actually.
so for you, Laurel, because you love the historical fiction,
Oh yeah.
I highly recommend this because you've got a lot of the settings are in London and England and Massachusetts and Boston and New England. This is
Yes.
they talk about the witch trials because the main
Yes.
character is an hereditary witch of a long line of witches that ultimately in the book they find out predates a lot of what they're doing because it's also very modern because there's a modern science element to it.
Yes.
And so they do that, but they also go back to Victorian England in the second book. It is
Oh,
fantastic.
I need to read it.
Yeah.
I liked Age of Vampires. And I do say a lot, like I bitched to you guys a lot about it. I mean, it's supposed to be spicy Twilight, but it's not as spicy as I would like. But it was really good in that I really like sci-fi, so I like a good dystopian novel, and it's dystopian, and but it's also like romance. It has the vampires. It has a real plucky main female character, which I love, and so
And that's what I love about the All Souls trilogy, especially because you see the evolution of Diana, who's the main character. Because it comes out in the first couple of episodes. She ran away from her heritage as a witch. And it's kind of the evolution of how she addresses it and who she falls in love with. And there is spicy scenes and family. And it's a trilogy, but there's 2 additional books. So it's now a quintet.
the problem is I think we're asking for a lot. Like I love my smut, but I want a good plot. I want something interesting.
Yes.
Like I do not want a slow burn. My favorite like book talk person is so into slow burn, and it kills me because those are most of her recommendations, and I don't want that. I want a lot of dick.
You're right. If you're going to read I agree. I totally agree. If you're going to read smut, you want the smut.
Yeah, I don't.
Yes.
I want a good story with all my fantasy characters or not, or whatever, and I want a lot of smut. I don't want to wait till the very end or have to read a second, third, fourth book. I want it in every book. Like I want a standalone, or I want a series full of it.
Right, but
Yes.
but that's like the smut books. But like the other books that are
But I want some smut in my romance.
But then you get the
Give me some dick.
right. But then,
I want them to fuck, or I want it to be a book that is all plot and no sex. Like there's like this weird
Also,
amount of like no in between for me.
Yes, and I read a series lately where all the sex scenes were like the same, even in different
Yes.
characters. That all
Well,
have you never had sex a different way?
I think this is the thing. I think we all, if we're gonna read smut, and all three of us, I think, agree.
Oh,
we want
yes.
the smut.
Yeah.
Yes,
But
yes.
some of these are of our favorite books that are that have a romance element. We're not reading it for the romance. We're reading it because it's a good story.
Oh yeah, we want a good story.
100%.
Right.
It has
So-
to be a good story.
And like that's part of why I love the Guild Hunter series.
Yes.
It has to do with angels.
Yes.
Not angels as Christianity portrays or anything. It's a different telling of the angels. And the archangels. They're not actual like god angels, they're just angels and that's it. It's a different universe.
Yes.
And it does get spicy-ish. But the core is the story, not the love.
It is not about the sex. It is about
It's
the
about the love
characters.
and the
Yes.
development. Like
Yes.
like that's the difference. Like we love
Yes.
a good love story that's a story. Like
Yes.
it's a true, like well written
Yes.
book.
So what about what we don't like? Yep, tropes.
Okay.
And things like that.
I absolutely hate 50 Shades of Grey.
You hate bad BDSM.
Yes!
That's what you're implying.
Oh my god,
You
it's
hate
not...
shitty BDSM. And that's okay. That's okay. Like, but 50 Shades of Grey are not what I would call a literary
So
masterpiece.
for example, I don't like. Yeah, I don't like too much. I don't want too much misogyny. Like I'm the good girl thing gets some people.
Oh,
But I'm not like, if they accidentally say it once, maybe I can deal with it, but I don't want that throughout the whole book.
you don't like the damsel in distress, knight in shining armor. None of us do.
No.
None of us like
that.
that.
One doesn't do anything.
Nope, don't
for
like
me.
it. Mm-mm.
Like I love, for a great example, we're taking it out of the smut. Disney was how a lot of us girls learned love stories,
Okay.
romance,
All right.
right?
Yeah,
Yeah, sure.
Yes.
I recognize that, well, to a degree, that my favorite Disney movie is Beauty and the Beast. She is a strong female character with Stockholm Syndrome. But she is a strong female character.
See,
She doesn't have to be rescued.
loved, like, Little Mermaid, and now as an adult, I'm like,
Ooh.
I love the songs, but I just can't
But,
stand
like,
the story.
I don't
can't
like the
stand-
Stockholm
I can't
Syndrome.
stand the story now.
Beauty and the Beast, but Belle comes and saves the Beast.
Yes.
Or Mulan.
I think
Mulan
that
or Moana or somebody that's like strong
Brave
nowadays.
or
yes.
Tangled where Rapunzel
Yes.
is
But
on.
they didn't have those when we were young.
No, we grew up on the damsel in distress.
But I still have a hard time with like milquetoast female characters.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
So like the Twilight series,
Oh
I think
my
is
God.
a great example,
Those are
right? Where
horrible.
what's her bucket? Her name doesn't. I can't even think of her name.
And
Bella.
see,
Bella.
I liked
Bella.
it because of it seemed like it would be sexy,
But
but
see,
it wasn't.
when
and
I
then
was
the vampires
16,
for me.
when I was 16, that shit was great.
yeah.
But sparkly
But now that,
vampires!
but now that I'm an adult,
You're stuck on the sparkling though.
Yes, I have an issue with the sparkles. Like, seriously. That's
We're gonna count
$2.90.
how many stories we read in different tropes that
Have a sparkly
Sparkles.
girl.
Yes, and I'm going to
'Cause
say
we're
what
like
the fuck
two
is
for-
this
we're
Twilight
like
to every single one.
2
of
for
them.
2 now.
Yes.
Yes.
The second book we'll cover in this month, you'll
Yes.
You'll get it.
you'll understand where we're coming
If
from.
you listen to
Yeah.
the first episode, yeah.
Yeah, and Twilight has its other issues, but I just have a really hard time. I think with.
But
just,
I enjoyed it so much at
yeah,
the time.
but like when I was 16,
Yeah.
and then like I went back and not even like reread them again, but reread the synopses again, right?
And it's
like,
just like, what?
it's like why, like I can understand why I was into that at the time, but I think now as a more fully formed human, I just have a really difficult time with it, right? It just comes off as very power trippy.
You want
kind of-
multi-dimensional characters with... You
I
want
want- yes.
real people. I want
Yes.
stories with real people.
Yes.
Or at least... Look, we read smut. They're not going to give us that much depth. But we do like it where the characters aren't just, the damsel in distress, the knight in shining armor. They have a little bit of dimension. Like, it's not great. They're not great with character development because it's smut. It's just fucking. But
there is a way for you to have female characters, and maybe I just gravitate towards more kind of just like, the Mary Jane sort of female character, right? Who's just kind of like a little bit of a badass in combat boots. kind of, you know, like I always like the Stephanie Plum novels because
yeah.
it was kind of one of those like she just doesn't take it lying down, right?
No,
so like one of
always
my
still going.
favorite book series are the Cassie Palmer novels by, gosh, her name is escaping me now.
You recommended them to me, and I have yet to get into it, but
because they're fucking hilarious by Karen Chance. But
it's
like
the
she's
Guild Hunter, where the main
Yes.
character is a fucking badass.
And again, it's like Cassie's a strong female character, and there is sex in the books. There is a romance element to it, but that is not the main
Guild Hunter,
part
Elena,
of the book.
the main
Yes,
character.
I loved her.
I wish the Stephanie Plum books had less fade to gray. I would like.
Yes.
I'd like those with some spice.
Oh,
I
the
know.
Guild Hunter.
Oh my God.
So it's 16 books. Main storyline is between this Guild Hunter who falls in love with an archangel. Okay, so major spoiler alert if you've never read it. The Guild Hunter, the main character, she's mortal in the first book, then becomes an angel. Falls in love as a mortal human with the most powerful being in the universe in that story, an archangel, and is a badass and is one of the ones, like, she's the one that's, she's a fighter, she wounds him,
Yes.
she doesn't take shit. She's got a lot of trauma, but she's a whole person.
Yes.
And I recommended to Claire, and she only read 3 books, but she did enjoy those 3 books.
Yes. I think this is another one that kind of bothers me is the one that gets formulaic. And this is not just like a trope that I don't like, but this is in general.
Yeah.
In a series of books, if you have 10 or 12, so like I have made it all the way through the Wheel of Time, but it was a fucking struggle at the end.
When they're formulated.
Because it felt like it was the last...
The
I
same
liked
thing.
Brandon Sanderson's take on the last 2 books, but like there's somewhere in the middle there of Robert Jordan's books that are just like, there's 5 or 6 of them and it's just like the same thing with the characters in slightly different situations, but it's the same like
And
outcome.
like you do get a bit of samey with Guild Hunter, but
Yes.
there is a bit of an evolution. There's a reason behind it. Like it builds, and
Yes.
you do have to get through. Like the first couple are very formulaic.
Yes.
There's nothing wrong with that, but it's developing
Yes.
her story because the main interest is Raphael and it's Elena.
Yes.
And so the first few books are kind of their evolution in their relationship.
Yes.
And you get to see, and it is samey and formulaic, but it's also very real because how their relationship evolves
Yes.
is very real. And then you start getting into more of the story of the people in their lives.
Yes. And I haven't had a lot of chance to finish that series
Because
either
there's so
I've
many
been
other
busy.
books.
Yeah.
And we're
We
reading
have
books,
lives,
and I've got
yeah.
other things going on, right?
I
And
say, like, I've been listening a lot to book talk. I'm like, okay, so I've been trying. I've done a lot of trials and games. And I've always liked that sort of thing. Like in YA, trials and games. I like dark academia. I like dystopian novels in general, sci-fi. But I've been doing that. But in romance type novels, I'm not. I like dark academia in romance novels. I don't know, like. I'm okay with a morally light gray guy, or even a morally gray, but I don't like morally black. I've noticed.
Yeah.
I have to draw the line somewhere, and as long as his morally gray isn't focused on the female character, like he has to be pure as the driven snow toward her, and then black in
Like
other
the mafia
areas.
romances, where
Yes,
the guy
like where
is
they're horrible,
horrible,
but
murdering
wonderful
person,
to her.
but treats her like a queen.
Yes, I'm okay with
I
that.
get that.
I
I
can
get
that.
yeah.
Because I guess
He has some kind of
I have a thing for the bad
side
boys.
thing. Yeah, the bad boys are interesting. Side thing that doesn't have to do with her, but she doesn't like it, or maybe she's involved somehow, but he's good to her.
But there's like good bad boy, and then there's like bad.
Yeah.
Right? And there's like, it's a very fine line to walk, and not everybody can get it
Oh,
right.
right.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
The motorcycle club ones.
Yes.
Where it's kind of
I haven't done that.
Sons of Anarchy-ish, but not like extreme like what they do in Sons of Anarchy. Like there's a series by Melissa Foster that's The Wickeds, where they're a motorcycle club. So the first connotation you get motorcycle club, you think, oh, maybe Hell's Angels, maybe some of that stuff. But it's not even saying that, like, yes, we understand the connotation with Hell's Angels
Yes.
in the 90s. But, like, motorcycle clubs today, like, these are former veterans. These are, firemen, sheriffs that are big on motorcycles. Like, they come across as tough, bad boys. But then they're ooey gooey teddy bears with the women in their lives. And then it kind of develops where they're amazing people. Like, these are the motorcycle clubs.
Not a pushover, just...
these are
a
the
good guy.
These are the motorcycle clubs that are the ones that protect abused women and children.
Yeah.
That testify.
Yes.
Like, that are real. This is a real thing. I'm sure I'm not telling anyone who's listening to us something they don't know. But these are the motorcycle clubs that go out of their way to protect.
Yes.
And so that's kind of, I love those. They might be slightly morally gray, and depending on what book you're reading. Like the Melissa Fosters, they're not morally gray. They're amazing men.
Yes.
But there's also something to be said for the kind of slightly morally gray motorcycle.
Yeah, and maybe I kind of go to the extreme with that and kind of go in like the Game of Thrones direction, right? Where it's just kind of like, you know what I mean? Like, okay, like there's a certain amount of Joffrey Baratheon shitty human being that you cannot overcome, and then there's a certain amount of like redemption arc that you can have out of it.
Yes.
As well, right?
Well, see, like I'm a type of reader. I go from one end of that to like I want super fluffy. I want to read my Bridgerton. I want to read like Abby Jimenez or like Emily Henry.
You want
and then I want to go back.
fluff, or you want?
I want to go back and forth. Like
yes.
if I read enough high fantasy or if I read enough really darkness, like I have to read something in between.
I'm the same way. Like I will liken it to what I do for the holidays. Like, I love a supernatural, like a drama, like crime, true crime, or The Criminal Minds, those kind of things. But during the holidays, I have to watch the stupid, super sappy, identical plot
Hallmark movies.
that make me weepy.
Hallmark movies get in the way of my Golden Girls.
They make me weepy.
No.
Like, for some reason, but that's kind of like how I do smut versus, like, the fluffy smut versus, like, the books, like, the
for whatever reason,
have,
shitty plot devices don't do it for me in, like, television and movies, but they're fine in books.
But it just kind of depends, too. Like, another great thing, like, I own all of the Laura K. Hamilton, Anita Blake.
Yes.
Which is fantasy meets hardcore sex.
Yes.
And that is not fluff. No. There's a lot of, like, oh my god, what the hell?
Really heavy
like,
themes.
Heavy themes mixed in with heavy sex. And, like, kind of, what's great about it is, like, the whole, like, love triangle that she's got going on through those books. You also, like, they say things that maybe people don't talk about. Like how your first sexual experience does inform the rest of your sexual experiences. And that resonated with me really majorly. There's a reason I'm so offended with 50 Shades of Grey. And one of my favorite tropes are the dark romances and the BDSM things. There's a reason for that.
Yes. Aside from the very unlikely situations that they put themselves in.
Yes.
50 Shades of Grey.
50 Shades of Grey bullshit.
And the hand-wavy excuse for why he is the way he is. But, you know, there's...
Like, yes, and BDSM done well.
Yes. There are good BDSM books out there, friends.
And that's what pissed me off with 50 Shades of Grey, because they say the dominant has all the power. No, that's a fucking lie.
Yes.
The submissive has all of the power in the situation. Yes.
Because they're the only ones who can stop the whole fucking thing in its tracks.
Like, it's a whole nuanced situation that we're not going to get into today. Let's just say the submissive holds the power.
Yes.
But how they get so many people going? So many people read that haven't been reading.
Well, but there was but I think there was this fair amount of, like, the author... E.L. James, or whatever her real name is, hadn't been in that scene very much.
Mm-hmm. And so it was...
She wrote a book that was it's sort of like Stephanie Meyer. I think both of them were, to some extent,
exposed. I feel like they were slightly exposed to it, but hadn't fully immersed in whatever...
Yes. There's researching a topic, and there's actually, like, doing the thing and understanding it front to back.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
And, like, the way 50 Shades set up, you don't do it sight unseen.
No. You don't just take someone down into your red room of pain and, you know, tie them to a bed and spank them. You know what I mean?
It's
there are a lot of conversations that lead up to
and you don't, like...
the interaction.
Until those discussions happen, you don't just fuck them.
No.
And there's nothing wrong with vanilla sex.
No, not at all. But also, I felt like, you know, particularly with that, we seem to be going down a tangent of why 50 Shades of Grey is bad for the BDSM scene. But, I mean, it felt kind of like there was a very hand-wavy excuse for why he was the way he was, right? Oh, well, he's just like this because he's been traumatized, right?
And trauma doesn't necessarily influence that stuff.
No.
I mean, to a degree, maybe, but honestly...
But it also felt very...
People kind of like what they like.
Yeah, but
you like what you like.
it also felt very much like tragic backstory for the sake of tragic backstory.
Right. Because you can be into BDSM and have
Yes.
No drama.
personal examples. I'm into that kind of stuff. But and I have had trauma in my life. But the trauma does not relate to the BDSM. Those are completely separate
those
things.
are separate things.
My
Yes.
trauma has nothing to do with my sexual
orientation,
drives, likes, whatever. And add to that, I'm in a very... Okay, I love him. It's vanilla.
Yeah.
Ain't nothing wrong with it.
And that's totally okay.
There's nothing wrong with it, because vanilla sex is still really good sex.
Yes. You're
And
very good.
You can
sex.
do you can do mind blowing, like crazy, weird, like panty melting, sweaty, crazy
tying
sex.
people up and
But
covering them in wax is not requisite for a good sexual
But the
experience.
drama that can also be associated with it, that you're like, oh my god, I don't want to deal with this bullshit anymore. The toxicity that can come with some of that stuff, not worth it. Like,
No.
and we're real people. You weigh what matters. Like, fire burning, hot, panty melting BDSM sex with all the craziness that comes with some of that sometimes.
Yes.
Or, really solid foundation of a relationship that's kind of vanilla. It's okay.
Yeah.
Or you want the panty melting and don't want the vanilla. That's fine too.
Yes.
Yeah.
You weigh what matters to you.
Yes. And
Maybe you don't want the day-to-day. Maybe
And
you don't...
somehow this has also kind of become slightly a bit of therapy, but I don't know. All of us have been in therapy, so we probably know what we're talking about to a degree.
But I feel like this is also a really good segue into saying, like, just because we yuck something, we never want to yuck somebody's yum. If that's your thing, like, by all means, go
We're just
for it.
saying what we like.
Yes. And there's nothing wrong with kind of
And
being
enjoy
into
talking
something
about it.
To be fair,
weird and fringe.
there are some yucks that we feel like are dead stop, like pedophilia.
Okay, but
bestiality,
everybody,
blah, 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 blah.
but everybody has that,
Yes,
right?
those are
Like,
the standard ones that get people arrested and felons, and we all agree on.
Yeah, we're not talking about totally illegal.
please
No.
do not partake of, underage
Ooh.
pornography, friends.
That is-
Ooh.
We're not condoning that, but what I'm saying is that, like, if
the
there is a
kinks.
trope that you were into, if you
Or
have
the kinks.
particular kinks, safe,
Just
sane,
because yours aren't
consensual,
ours is okay.
safe,
Like-
sane, consensual, right? Even if it is monster fucking, like, by all means, have at it.
If your monster says okay.
If your monster says it's okay,
Yes!
and you're totally into
Oh.
it, it's great.
Have I, a great example. I don't know if you guys watch, what's his face? The British guy, late night talk show host.
James Corden?
No, not Corden. Not US-based talk show host.
Oh, you mean Graham Norton?
Yes. When he talks to Kate Winslet and Idris Elba.
Mm-hmm.
Oh God.
Where they talk about, and everyone finds out, like they announce it, Idris Elba really likes feet.
Oh, that's right.
Like, I don't
That's
understand
right.
it, but his yum does not turn me
Look,
on.
if
Because
Idris
it's fucking
Elba-
Idris Elba.
Look, if Idris Elba was like, I'm into your feet, I'd be like, yes.
I bet you love my beautiful painted hobbit toes, honey.
You don't say no to
You
Idris
can
Elba.
have-
Idris
No.
Elba.
You can lick
That
my
is
hobbit toes all you want.
That is a very particular
Do you want to come
fetish
watch
of
me get a
mine.
pedicure every week? kind of deal?
I hear that's very lucrative, toe pictures. I've been thinking about that. I don't know.
Yeah, feet finder is a thing.
It is a thing, but
You have to have the right kind of feet.
no, that
What's the
and-
right feet? 'Cause
No, that
I'd
and
say
you,
petite,
you have to have started with them early on.
furry,
Because
ribbon.
they do
Oh.
advertise it at some point. It becomes kind of like an MLM where there's so
Gotcha.
many people who
You
are
need to
trying to
have
post feet photos.
Feet under you. You
Or-
know,
well,
your
or
downline
where-
need to also be posting the
It's
feet.
like OnlyFans where it's like the top earners are people that have been doing it for a long time
And have
or
and
they-
have mentees underneath them or
and,
something like that.
and they have they're pros. They have they have the setup where you can do the
fair,
photo
and that's
shoot.
what they do.
So-
That's
Not
fair.
where it's just like the amateur person who's just randomly taking photos.
So, like,
Because full candor, I've tried it.
I'm being funny. I have not, but I'm very willing for Idris Elba or a few other people to enjoy my toes for free. And
Look, if you guys want to see photos of pics, wait.
But anyway, what we're getting, where we're
Rewind.
Yes.
If you want feet photos from us, that will have to be through the Patreon.
We're not selling you our feet photos
For free.
listeners.
No. But if you request it on our Patreon, maybe we'll do it. But you have to be a dedicated Patreon person.
Frodo Baggins with beautiful color.
Shoes on.
Hey, as someone with a massive shoe collection, a la Sex in the City almost.
Fair. Shoes on.
Again,
beautiful, expensive shoes on.
Yeah.
Hey, look,
this is quite a tangent we got on here.
Our Hobbit and little person, or I guess not little person is very specific. A Hobbit and midget, I think that's anyone under 5 feet. Is that one thing? I don't know.
That's somebody's yum. I think I do. If I ever encountered Tyrion Lannister,
cute and furry. I don't know. Okay.
I would totally go for Tyrion Lannister. Let's be real. Furry's not my thing.
I mean, it's
I also kind of don't understand it because how do you bang in a furry suit? Right?
I don't know. You
take
off everything but the ears and tail?
And is the tail attached to a butt plug?
The furries, for the most part, I believe, take their costumes off. If you were a furry, please weigh in.
Help us, because we're not making fun. We're trying to understand.
So I have friends in the furry community, right? So I'm super just whatever your thing is, I'm totally here for it as long as you're not a horrible excuse for a human being, right?
And you're not trying to do it with
human,
us.
Whatever.
Right? If you want to fuck people in your furry costume, go for it. As long as you're just
not us.
But we're still interested in the logistics.
We have questions.
But my understanding is that a lot of people in those community are LGBTQIA, so it may not necessarily be that they are actually having sex. It may be an asexual relationship, right?
Fair.
Furries are kind of what my understanding of it, and I'm full disclosure, I'm not in the community, but I have friends who are a little bit more on the fringes of it, right? So it's a little bit of a broader spectrum of people who are in that, but my understanding is they take the costumes off to have sex, if that's what
I'm not sure it has to do particularly with your sexual identity, does it? You just might be furry and then you like who you like, right?
Some are, but just for the most part, a furry persona is a persona.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
So it's sort of if you it's like an actor.
Or a masquerade ball.
Yeah, it's like an actor, like a masquerade ball, right? You put on the furry persona and you go to the con and you are that persona.
Or the anime.
Yes. And then you come home and you are Joe. Or you are Janet, right? Who you are as a furry is part of your personality, but that is not the entire personality.
Some of these things that we're going to talk about, we're going to have questions about because maybe we haven't experienced.
We are not experts.
And this is why we are doing this, because we have all the questions. There's going to be an episode probably
at some point. Or do we not? I mean...
Where we're going to...
And some is just anecdotal.
Well, and we have a subject that for a future happy hour episode where we have all the questions. The why, the what, the how, the situation.
Yeah. Oh, yes.
Regarding sex.
Yes.
And these are some of the things we've probably covered. The weird physics of sex. Or the... Wait, really? Sex in the shower kind of situation?
Nobody has sex on a horse, okay, guys?
Just saying, that does not work.
And it happens so much in Regency. That is part of,
You might be bumping up and down against someone's back or butt.
The only sex they were having that involved horses in Regency was in the stable or in the carriage, not on the horse.
My first romance novel, sad to say, I was in elementary school. I read my mother's romance novel. Now this is not early elementary school. This is later elementary school, right before you hit middle school.
Where you accidentally picked up a book.
Where I found a book and I had run out of books to read. So I read a smutty, hard paperback romance novel set in Regency times. And there was a situation where even at that age I was like, who has this? And I couldn't bring myself to say sex or fucking on a goddamn horse.
Nobody has sex on a horse, guys.
And I had all of these questions. And so some of these questions are going to come up. We have, again, future happy hour episode where we're going to have lots of questions.
As someone who is a horseback rider, you cannot get in proper position, either in a saddle or bareback on a horse, for a man to penetrate a woman or for a man to penetrate another man.
And that doesn't even take into account how the animal reacts to the sex.
Yes. Because if the horse is moving, like, God be with you.
Because if
friends.
anyone has
This
been...
doesn't sound like fun.
But they're also prey animals, right? Horses are spooky bitches.
Well,
like,
and if you ever, like...
they're scared of everything.
If you ever read or watch or see documentaries about how they breed horses,
Yes.
it's fucking dangerous as hell.
Because the horses weigh roughly a ton.
And the smell alone.
Yes. Will knock you over. But we're not talking about the horses having sex here. We're talking about people having
well, they have
sex
to be
on
riding
the horses.
horses, supposedly.
But that would set off the horses. And, like, you can't... No one can tell me
Even
you
if
can...
you have an exceptionally well-trained horse that will just kind of like just roll with anything, you cannot get in the proper position to have penetration.
Okay, we're gonna get into this later.
Yes, but we're getting into this now and it's okay because these are the questions that we
We've
have.
officially gone on a tangent, but what we're saying is that nobody fucks on a horse.
But these are the questions that we have that will come up. And, like, don't even get me
I
started.
hope you have these questions with your friends.
if you have fucked on a horse and you have personal experience on how to do that, please.
Yes.
DM
And
us.
here's another
Might
thing.
even have to try it. I don't know.
As a reader, let's reel it back in. That's
Okay.
I guarantee this reeling back in will take you on a tangent because there's a whole genre of virgin sex.
Oh no, that's a whole nother.
That's a whole other
happy
thing.
hour.
That's a whole other
That's
happy
another
hour.
happy hour.
That's another happy hour.
But I'm gonna say I do not enjoy reading about it because this is my stance.
It's never as good the first time.
No, two virgins
No.
having sex
It's
cannot
never-
have mind-blowing sex.
Nobody
There's
knows what the
no
fuck
way.
they're doing. Okay, guys.
Oh,
Losing my virginity was only phenomenal because the guy I lost my virginity to had lost his virginity several years ago and knew what the fuck he was doing.
Oh no, it was the blind leading the blind here.
Yeah.
He knew where all the spots were. He knew how to set
no,
things
none
off.
of that.
No.
I got
Not a
really,
version and got none of that.
No.
I got really lucky because I lost my virginity to a guy who lost his virginity like 3 or 4 years before he and I hooked up. And he had been hooking up with other people.
Look, and you can also be not a virgin and not know what the fuck you're doing.
True.
Either.
That's true.
But I got I will fully admit I was a very, very lucky virgin because the guy I had been I was fooling around with but did not lose my virginity to like penis in vagina virginity. He knew what he was doing, all the other stuff. But shit happened, there was drama that's not related, does not matter to this story.
Relevant is
Yes,
what we're
that
looking
is the
for.
word. Then I met a guy who I did lose my virginity to, and oh my lord, another tangent. He wanted to be a firefighter when I met him, and he played varsity soccer.
Did he look like a firefighter?
Oh god, this is the guy I
He was
climbed
a
like a
snack.
fucking pole.
He was a snack.
So we got together. He was good friends with one of my friends, and we got together and hung out. He and I got into a tickle war,
Oh.
and it was
Why
fun.
is that not in a book?
It was like we call it tickle war. It was full on foreplay with our friend sitting in the room talking to us while he was wrestling with me in tickle war.
Girl.
He got my number from her. We started texting. We hooked up. Ooh, he knew what he was doing. I got very, very, very lucky. But he was also my introduction, again, like we talked about with the Laura K. Hamilton, Anita Blake books,
Yep.
where they mention your first experience kind of drives the rest of it. He was into some kinky shit. Ain't nothing wrong with that.
No.
And so, ooh la la.
Yeah.
But again, it's all good. But again, now you know a little bit more about us. You know where we're coming
You
from.
just listen to us talk for an hour and 45 minutes about...
All kinds of random.
15. Hour and 15.
Okay.
Okay.
Maybe
fine.
less once editing.
By the time we edit this down, it'll be an hour.
Yeah, see?
These are the things that we are going to cover in the coming weeks, months, whatever the hell
As we
you
read
want.
stories, but also just for like our happy hour, because we'd like you to join us.
Yeah.
These are questions, suggestions. If you have anything to suggest, we already have a very long list.
Obviously, you can't listen to this in the car with your kid.
Yeah.
We
but-
don't recommend it. We will say there will likely be in future episodes either books, topics we talk about, whatever the case may be. There will be trigger warnings in some cases.
Yeah,
always
we'll try
give
to
those
tell
for
you.
you.
Yeah.
We'll try to give you a heads up at the beginning of the episode.
But there'll always be like dicks and dildos and things.
Yes,
Yes.
dicks, dildos, sex, and booze. Because
Oh, yeah.
that is the point of
Always.
this.
Yes.
Because sometimes we need some time as adult women buyers, just with other adults.
Listen, society
with other adult women.
Society at large is a hot dumpster fire, so we are here in solidarity.
Well, and let's be real. How many times do we always hear about the crap about the locker room talk?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We need our own talk.
This is the girl talk.
This is girl talk. And if you're a guy, that's great too.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
We'd love you to
We're
join
happy
us.
to have you as a listener.
Yes, if you're a male listener, gay, straight, bi, whatever the hell you're associated with, if you can answer some of these questions that we have that come up,
Yeah, have you fucked on a horse and how have you done it?
yes. And like, do
We don't care.
Like, what about this whole like sex up against the wall where you lift the bitch up?
Is shower sex really all that
Like-
great? Because it ain't so great for the girls.
We've always tried it.
But
We've
like,
tried
what
it.
about like your perspective on
It's
holding
hot
up a
until you do it.
Yeah.
Well, how about the
it's
perspective?
great in theory.
The man's perspective of holding up a girl while they're having sex.
Yeah.
Is your back okay?
Yes.
Well, as I've
Do
learned
you
from...
think about how heavy the girl is while you are
Does
banging
that
against
matter?
the shower
Because as
wall?
I've learned from girlfriends, you always want to pick a guy that will not drop you on your head.
Yes, fair.
And even then,
And like, what are you thinking? Are you trying not to drop them on their head?
like,
I don't know.
do you lose yourself in sex, or do you like, oh my god, don't drop her, don't drop her, don't
Or
drop
is
her?
she so heavy?
If you can answer the questions,
But they're like 6 foot tall and you're 5'1".
Yes.
I don't know.
and
Like,
again, some
things don't match up right. I don't know. Okay.
So
Okay.
again, these happy hour episodes will run the gamut. These are going to be questions. These are going to be about us.
Okay, guys, let's cheers.
Well,
Yeah.
then
They're always unhinged and they're
Yes.
always stream of consciousness.
cheers. Yes.
Cheers.
But and if you have suggestions, please let us
Yes.
know. Support
Yeah,
us
for
on
topics,
Patreon.
for books.
Like, listen, and subscribe wherever you do all of that shit.
It's been nice talking.
We have no idea what
find
we're
us on
doing, but
social
here we
media.
are.
If you want us to do better or get a better like production value, look for us on Patreon. If you want to help us drink booze, do that too.
Give us money and we'll buy a better microphone.
If you
Or-
really want more of a plan, that's okay too, but we're enjoying it like it is.
Listen, this is stream of consciousness. We always start with a plane and we always end up in whatever the fuck this is.
And we will have guests
Occasionally.
occasionally, good friends, random people. Like, seriously, we have no idea what we're doing, so.
Yeah.
Cheers.
Welcome to the journey
Cheers.
with us. Cheers.